These are some of there's more to follow, some of the areas that we look after as a town council. So a lot of the big outdoor areas that you see, the Salts, the Crouch, the Martello Fields, obviously the golf course and the View, the seafront, which includes all the concessions along there that we run as well, with tenders going out to people. South Hill Barn, the Nature Reserve, public notice boards, lots of little small open spaces around town as well. Normansell Field, the Village Green at Prince's Drive, War Memorial, Black Chicken Pond, children's play areas, High and Dover, that's our furthest bit from the town centre, the car park area and the countryside area around it, South Down Corner, the allotments, and Martello Museum. All of those with a V, the reason that's there is that we run them in partnership with volunteers. So the vast majority of them, we provide them with support, but they actually do it themselves with our support, various volunteers. Different extents each one. I'm not going to say they're all done exactly the same way, they're done differently, but they are run by volunteers on the whole those. Other things that we provide, Christmas magic and also the Christmas lights every year. The CAB, we provide their offices so that they can provide their services in Seaford. We also give £23,000 a year to local groups. We donate to about 40 or 50 different groups every year. The defibrillators around town after our young mayor last year, raised the money for those. We're now responsible for them, or some of them. Benches and notice boards around the town, public toilets. There's a bit of a mix there. We're responsible for 3 lots and district council for 2, but the cleaning is done by a company organised through the district council. So that is something that we are looking at the moment, and anyone who's been in the toilets probably don't need to say anymore. We would like to see a much higher standard, and we're putting forward different ways of delivering that in the future years, so that we get them to a standard which is more befitting of what we should have in the town. The crypt next door, that's with volunteers as well, and the old town hall tea rooms, again, run by volunteers that we do partnership with. Some of the bus shelters, town centre CCTV we pay for. Economic developments, we do quite a bit of that now, especially with the neighbourhood plan coming into place. There's lots coming from that we can look to do to improve the economic development of the town. We're information points, we do give out a lot of information to different people on a daily basis to help them find what they're looking for. And we also bring in grant funding as well. So this last few months we brought in just £60,000, thanks to Sue, who's sat quietly in the corner. So we get very good at bringing in grants as well as using the preset money and commercial income as well. We're also a voice for Seaford, so there's lots of things that we can do as an organisation to speak for Seaford, because there's no other organisation that represents the town like your town council can. We haven't got any conflicting issues with representing Lewis or Newhaven or Peacehaven. We're just thinking about Seaford, which is important for the town to have that voice. So on planning applications, we have a team of councillors who sit on that every 3 weeks to look at the planning applications, well supported by Jeff, who's a qualified planning officer and lawyer. So our representations are taken very seriously because they're actually well thought out and stand up in law. So the district council do take note of what we say. That doesn't mean to say we get our way all the time, we don't, but we have had some good successes with that system. We have a voice for things like public transport, public health, neighbourhood plan, which is something we just about finished in terms of up to Regulation 14. That means we've done most of the work now. It now goes off to the district council and then to an inspector, and then there'll be a referendum in the town next year, January next year. And that determines where all the housing is going to go in Seaford, for example. It also looks at other issues like commercial developments, the economic development of the town, public transport, transport links and hubs. So there's a lot in that, which is it's a really important document for the future of the town. I've mentioned the Buckle car park because we're still dealing with that. So, what you'll remember, that was part of the 49 sites that the district council put forward a couple of years ago. And we, along with a number of other good groups in the town, like Seaford Residents' Voice, objected to that and put forward a lot of legal reasons why it couldn't happen. And eventually it didn't. And actually the Buckle was the mainstay of the whole 49 projects, because that was going to be sold for a significant amount of money to be spent elsewhere. So thankfully that came to an end, that project. We are discussing it at our next council meeting next week, because we've been trying to get that secured in perpetuity as a car park. There's a report for the councillors to look at on that at the next meeting. And we have representation on outside bodies as well. A lot of the councillors sit on outside bodies. So just before I came to the meeting, I had an email exchange with one of our councillors about the Seaford Flood Action Group, for example. So she sits on that particular group, very active, and they're trying to, through Southern Water and the Environment Agency, deal with some of the issues of flooding that we have in the town. They're the voice for that, and we help them, and we have a representative on that group as well. Some of the achievements of the current administration. So they're coming to the end of the 4 years. It was quite a rocky beginning. There was a lot of things going on, but and that wasn't any reflection on the current councillors or the staff. So there's some of the achievements they've achieved is the £210,000 for the children's play area and the salts. That was actually money that had been buried, and if it hadn't been unearthed by council staff here, it was held by the district council, it would have actually gone back to the developers, which would have been a disaster. After 5 years, if you haven't spent Section 106 money, the developer can demand it back. And a lot of that money was just short of 5 years when we got in touch with them and said, can we have that money because we want to spend it on a play area. So the children's play area, that was a good start. 240,000 for skate park, which is going in April the 1st. It's 100% funded from grants or community infrastructure levy funding, so none of it has come from taxpayers, and it's replacing the existing skate park that we have there that's been well used and is now past its sell-by date. As I say, the neighbourhood plan, that's got the Regulation 14 stage now. The council's finances are now in a far better position than they were 4 years ago. Bonningstead Promenade beach huts, that was something being on the agenda for about 6 or 7 years. They've now started to be built, and we've sold 12 so far with a number of people interested in them, so we're expecting to sell those by the end of this summer. New concessions that we brought in, so some of you might have seen the Crepe Man, the Fish and Chip Shop Man, one or two others along the seafront this year which have been well received. The View, that was run at a loss for the first 3 years, but it's now back into profit with the Golf Cost Centre. The thing that a lot of people don't realise is the Golf Cost Centre still is in profit to the tune of £342,000. So when people say we are paying for the View, it's not true. It's the other way around. The golf has given money to the town, which has then kept the precept low in Seaford. But it did run at a loss for a few years, but it's now back into profit, and there's still the balance sheet is plus 342,000. We had some litigation matters to resolve. They've now all largely been resolved. The last one's on the agenda next week for councillors to look at, so hopefully that will be resolved as well. The workforce now is highly skilled. We've got a great team here now, the right people in the right jobs, which makes a difference, so we're able to deliver on lots of things that we couldn't 4 years ago. That's reflected by that one there as well. We've secured over 30 qualifications in the last 4 years for staff. Staff are really highly trained now and still doing more. We believe in investing in the staff to make them as good as we can. Some new things coming, the daily hire beach huts just down the West View on the seafront. They'll be going in April, which is going to be a basic beach hut that people can hire just for the day or for a couple of days. It'll be kitted out, so there'll be a few things in there as well, like a stove and deck chairs and things like that. And there'll be a few commercial beach huts to hire as well, so people like the store lady who's down there at the moment, one or two of the people are going to hire those to sell craft wares down on the seafront as well. We, as a council, little known, generate the highest amount of commercial income of any town council in the country, at 1.8 million. To put that into reflection, when we raised that amount, which was not the financial year we're in now, but the year before, the total amount from taxpayers was 700,000. So we achieved almost 3 times as much, or 2.5 times as much from commercial income as we do from taxpayers. It's the lowest tax in town council in the district by a long way, certainly in comparison to the New Haven, which is almost, Lewis, which is almost 3 times the level in Seaford. We've set up the security of Seaford Head Nature Reserve in this term of office, so that's now run by Sussex Wildlife Trust with our support, which means we've got expertise there to look after the nature reserve the way it should be. We've got the brown sign scheme introduced, which is bringing more tourists to the area, because we know that daily tourists is what keeps the town alive in terms of keeping the shopping centre going and things like that. Retention of the football pitches at Newlands, that was a challenge, because the Newlands development was something we objected to, but knew because we didn't have a neighbourhood plan that was difficult to stop. But the best we could achieve was keeping the football pitch there, which we've managed. We're in negotiation now. It also includes new changing rooms. So we're in negotiation now with the developers as to how that's going to be delivered. We secured funding for outdoor table tennis recently, which is going to go in the salt soon. £60,000, almost all profit from filming rights that we've done in the town this year. And that's largely due to the efforts of Sharon, who's sat at the back, cleaning her nails, because she's done well. We've created quite a few new partnerships this year. So the Crypt Gallery, the Old Town Tea Hall rooms, they look like they were going to both have issues, but we set up new partnerships to get them self-running, and they're now doing really well. We set up a new agreement with the Martello Museum, which enabled them to get the £300,000 they've spent recently on the new bridge and the lift and everything. Without that, we couldn't have done that. Re-established our arrangement with Batchet Pond. I've just had a letter in from them today. Actually, we're looking to do some more things with them in the next few months. A group of volunteers who look after the whole pond area, led by one gentleman who was in his 90s. He was an incredible guy. Set up a partnership with Premier Football. They were almost going to close when Newlands kicked them off the premises when it was sold, but we managed to find facilities for them, and they now provide coaching for over 250 young people every week. We've improved Christmas magic, and we've also attracted over 40 events to the town in recent years. This includes outdoor film evenings, which we've got 2. There's one in the diary for April for, what is it again?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's it. I nearly said Mamma Mia, but I was wrong. Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah. Yeah, so that's in the salt soon. April the
13th.
April the 13th, so very soon. So that's one of the new events that we've been bringing to the town. We've got a full system of corporate governance in place, which we didn't have before, and we've improved all of the council's estate, the properties. We're gradually doing up everywhere that we own to bring them up to a standard. They have been slightly neglected. There wasn't a programme to carry out active maintenance, and now, thanks to people like Bob at the back who does our inspections, and Craig, who's not here, our projects officer, we actually react and do things in a timely fashion. As Milani used to say, stitching time saves 9, so we try and get things done a bit quicker and save money in the long run. This is just to give you an idea of what we charge preset for the town. So Seaford, the total amount you pay to the town and special expenses is 86 a year for Band D properties, as you can see. Those is 234. New Haven's 176. Telscombe is 110. And Peacehaven's 119. So we're by far the lowest in the district. And that is largely due to the extra income we bring in from commercial activity. So we have a strategic plan which the council adopted, so there's still things in that plan to deliver. It's only 2 years old. So completing the seafront improvement plan, which is what we're on with at the moment, with the new beach huts and Bonningstead. There's water points to go in soon, water refill stations, new toilets eventually when we get the funding. There'll be more new concessions and additional beach huts as well. The salts development plan that includes the new skate park in April. We're looking to refurbish the tennis courts. We're working with Lawn Tennis Association to get funding for those. Improved landscaping, new circular pathway, the water park and the new cafe as well. So there's a lot going on there. South Hill Barn development, we're looking to bring that into public use. So we're starting a couple of things this year. We've got an art exhibition there during Art Wave month.
End of August.
End of August, yeah. So they're using it for an art exhibition up there. We've got a couple of other things potentially to use it for as well. We're completing the play strategy of all of the play areas in the town, so we can make sure that every household as possible has got a play area, a children's play area within a reasonable walking distance. So we look at what we've got, and then we look at the spaces that we can potentially put new ones on, and then look for funding to put in new children's play areas. South Down Road Improvement Plan, that's in line with the View Business Plan. That involves accommodation at the site, which will be paid for by the sale of some land, which is quite a big project that we're looking at in the next couple of years. New premises for outgrown this place, and the rent is quite high, so we're better off actually buying somewhere or building somewhere. So we've got to look at how we're going to achieve that. We haven't got anything definite on that at the moment. Play and pitch strategy is in the process of being done at the moment. It's similar to the play area. That tells us how many sporting fields there is in the town, how many we should have, and where we've got a shortage. So we can then look at the situation, see where we can provide additional ones. Design and begin the implementations of the Martello Fields Improvement Plan. We want to look at that and see what people want there in terms of improvements, and then develop it from there in line with what people are asking us to do there. And also we're going to create a long-term building management plan for the Martello Tower. It's obviously a listed building. It's got a lot of issues with damp. The decking that's there, the tarmac area, is not part of the monument, but it's the part that causes the problems with the damp. So we need to do a lot of work on that over the coming years, but we're getting a specialist architect in to look at that surveyor who's a specialist in listed properties, so he can give us a plan as to how we address all the issues that we have there at the moment. Although it's run by the volunteers, as I said earlier. That's the strategic plan. I won't go through all that, but that's on our website. One of the key things we try and do with all councillors and staff members is teamwork. We try and get everyone involved as a team member of Seaford Town Council once you're elected. We have a really dedicated and skilled team, as I say, of office staff. We are the paid help. You know, we are here to do what the council asks us to do. We have eager councillors at the moment who are all volunteers, and the time can be anywhere from, they might tell me I'm wrong here, but anywhere from 15 hours to as little as 3 hours. It depends how much you want to put in and what you're involved in as well for the council. Politics has dropped once we started the new council, so although people campaign on a particular viewpoint, what we found this year that's worked, this last 4 years, that's worked really well, is councillors forget about political allegiances and just put Seaford first. And by doing that, we've managed to eradicate time wasting through arguments over petty points, and actually everyone has worked well as a team, and we've been able to deliver an awful lot by doing that. The relationships between councillors and staff is obviously mutual respect, and the way we've always worked is we're friendly to everyone but friend of none. And that's not an insult, that's just it's the best way to be, because if you become too close to a particular councillor, then the rest will see that there'll be something wrong in their eyes in that relationship. So we treat everyone exactly the same, which is the best way to be. Meetings, we send the agenda out electronically. It says at least 3 working days before. We actually send them out for full council meetings. We aim for 2 weeks before, so you have plenty of time to read them. For meetings, big meetings, it tends to be near a week. We send an electric copy, but also there's a copy in the ducats at the end of this room, and you have access to the building at any time with a keypad to come in and pick up your documents. The agenda is set by myself by law, but we're obviously open to suggestions, and we tend to discuss what's going to go on the agenda and plan it a little bit ahead, so we can have a properly thought out report on every item that appears on the agenda. It's up to you as a councillor to decide how many committees you go on. There is a few. So we have community services, which meets just 4 or 5 times a year. Same with finance, 4 times a year, and the golf and the view is 4 times a year. Planning and highways every 3 weeks, so that can be about 13 times a year. So that's the real labour of love committee. If you're interested in planning and you get along with Jeff, then that's the one to go to. It is but the people that are on that committee, I'm always impressed with the knowledge they've gained through serving on that committee. We also have personnel, which just meets as and when required, but as a rule of thumb, about 3 times a year. And obviously the full council is the main one where everyone's involved, and we have scheduled 7 meetings of that year, including the annual meeting, although we do occasionally have extraordinary meetings if there's a need, something arises. In terms of the councillors, we provide more training than any other council in Sussex. We've already got 9 training sessions booked in for this coming year for councillors. You're our unpaid volunteers. but you as a group of councillors decide on the policy of what the council's going to do, and then it's our job as officers to go in and deliver that policy. Councillors work very close with us to help deliver services. We have some who volunteer and do other things like deliver leaflets or do road closures in when we do Christmas magic or wherever it may be. You know, there's different councillors who help in many different ways, actively, or whether it be going to collect rubbish that's been dumped in Dover or South Hill Barn. You are governed by a code of conduct if you're a councillor, which only covers you whilst you're acting as a councillor. It doesn't cover your private life. So if you do something untoward in your private life, code of conduct doesn't apply. It's only when you're acting as a councillor. And there is a copy of that on our website, which you can look at. But we can answer any questions on that as well during the evening. This just gives you an idea of the land holdings we have. So it's everything from a little bit of land over there, which is a strange bit of land, to the village green, all the way over to Seaford Head. So we own the whole of Seaford Head, including the farmland, which we lease to the farmer. And also we obviously own things like the Salts, the Crouch, the Martello Fields, Princess Drive, the allotments. It's another big one in the middle there, and land up at Normanson up here as well. So there's various plots of land that we own around the town. Over, in total, almost 400 acres of land that we own. That's the timetable of the meetings that we have through the years. You can see planning is the busy one, community services, finance, council through there, golf and the view. This is all the training sessions we've got booked in as well, and they're the two personnel ones that are penciled in as well. Who's who? We are going to provide a hard copy of this on the internet, so you'll be able to look at this in more detail if you wish. The team here is Projects and Facilities, led by Tony, who's he's at a show in London tonight, so couldn't be with us. And his team, some of whom are here tonight. We then have the Deputy Town Clerk, Colin, who leads the corporate team. And then at the view and the golf, we have a general manager and a golf pro, and a head greenkeeper who will look after everything up there for us. That's just the view staff structure that we have of the people who work up there as well. Right. Right. Sorry, that was a whistle stop too, but we will, as I say, we'll put this on the website so you can look at it a bit slower if you want, if there's anything you want to know from